Together we don't stand. There is power in our union. Now the lessons of the past were all learned with workers' blood and strikes on.
Hello, everyone. My name is Elizabeth Mans, and I'd like to welcome you to the April 4th Coalition Show. This is the November 14th, 2022 edition of the show, and it is week 428 since the closing of the North Adams Regional Hospital. Yay, these 5 years ago now. Anyway, the April 4th Coalition's mission statement is, we are for workers' rights and collective bargaining rights, and are against tax breaks for the rich and corporations who ship our jobs overseas. We support all the articles of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, but as is our custom, we put the emphasis on Article 23 at the start of the show. You want the usual too?
Yes. Number 1, everyone has the right to work, to free choice of employment, to just and favorable conditions of work, and protection against unemployment. Number 2, everyone, without any discrimination, has the right to equal pay for equal work.
Number 3, everyone who works has the right to just and favorable remuneration, ensuring for himself or herself and his or her family an existence worthy of human dignity and supplemented, if necessary, by other means of social protection. Number 4, everyone has the right to form and join trade unions for the protection of her or his interests. And as our custom, we give a shout out to Michael Putnam and a thank you to the community radio station, WNNB LP 107.1, for airing our shows on Friday, the audio portion of our show on Fridays at 6 p.m. And of course to Dave Fabiano for staying late to help us tape the show.
Yes.
And last week we were talking about the elections, and fortuitously for Massachusetts, the results are in.
Yes.
We know who won those.
Right. And the millionaire's tax.
And the millionaire's tax passed.
Yes.
Number 2 passed, which was the dental one. Number 3 did not pass, which was the liquor license. And number 4, which was the driver's license for immigrants.
I think it passed.
That one
Yeah.
passed.
Yeah.
Actually, that one passed far easier than the millionaire tax.
That's right. Governor's veto was overridden by the House and the Senate, and then
Right.
one step later, it was passed by the voters.
Yep.
And then, we have the governor's race.
Yes, we have Maura Healey and I forget Driscoll's first name.
Yeah, I do too.
So our apologies to the Lieutenant Governor, but her last name is Driscoll. And Andrea Campbell is the first African American Attorney General in Massachusetts, just as Maura is the first duly elected woman
Jane Swift was acting governor,
but
not elected governor.
But not an elected, and Maura Healey is the first one to do that, as well as being the first openly LGBTQ governor.
And Diana.
Go ahead.
And Diana DiZoglio, she won the state auditor's race. Then the only male that's in the executive branch is Bill Galvin, Secretary of State, but he does do a good job running.
He does do well, and of course, kudos to Tara Jacobs for winning her race.
Very good, very good. She did a great job. I mean, she worked hard for that. I remember I was in Shelburne Falls this summer, and I saw a poster up for her, She did a good job.
She did a good job getting herself known in all the communities because it's a wide area on that governor's council.
Yeah. And Debbie Goldberg remains our treasurer.
Yep.
And we have Paul Mark.
Is our new state senator.
Yeah, so.
And of course, John Barrett still represents us.
So we're very fortunate, very fortunate. So.
Indeed.
And then I was completely surprised by the results. I was very nervous about.
I was very anxious
about the democracy as a whole, if it would survive.
Right, but it looks like the voters in the country want a split government again. They want, they gave the Senate stays with the Democrats and the president, and the House looks like, by a very slim margin, maybe only 5 seats going to the Republicans at this point.
Yeah, so I wouldn't
That's
call
still
that
up
one
in the
yet,
air.
yeah.
They might run the table
Yeah.
like Trump did to become president in 2016, the Democrats, and they might.
Well, why don't we
Get out.
watch this video by Robert Reich? It's the big midterm victories that give me hope for the future. So,
Well, it's still too soon to know the full results of the midterms. There were some major victories on Tuesday night that spanned the entire country. Numerous election-denying candidates in key battleground states lost their races for both Secretary of State and governor. Abortion rights were protected in 5 states. Minimum wage increases were approved by voters in Nebraska and Washington, D.C. Collective bargaining rights were enshrined in the Illinois Constitution, and Medicaid coverage was expanded to more than 40,000 people in South Dakota. Control of state legislatures flipped to Democrats for the first time in years in Michigan and Minnesota, as well as in the Pennsylvania House. Maryland elected its first black governor, only the 3rd black governor elected in U.S. history. The first openly lesbian U.S. governor was elected in Massachusetts. New Hampshire elected the first trans man to a state legislature in U.S. history. John Fetterman ran as a voice of the working class and flipped a U.S. Senate seat in Pennsylvania. Meanwhile, dozens of other progressive candidates defeated big-moneyed interests to win elections to the U.S. House, including Maxwell Frost, the first Gen Z member of Congress. Friends, regardless of the overall outcome of the midterms, have no doubt, progressives are the future. We can win. Tuesday was proof.
yeah, I was very pleased with that.
Oh, yeah.
And
I was excited. I mean, Nevada had me a little nervous until I realized where the votes were coming, where the ones that had to be counted from were from.
And that was the union stepping forward. They did
did.
a lot of work, you know,
To do that, yes.
to get
'cause-
that senator reelected.
Yes,
You know, they worked hard.
they did indeed.
But before we go into that, we do have a little bit of a documentary by The Guardian that talks about Fetterman, which is the only Senate seat that changed from
From Republican.
to Democrat.
Democrat.
We still we're waiting for the Georgia results. That'll take place in December,
Correct.
and that voting will take place. And if Warnock wins, then it'll be Fetterman's victory would be the only senator that was the only flipped
Senate
seat in
seat,
this.
yep.
Yeah. So let's watch this Guardian. It's about 12 minutes long. It's from The Guardian about the Fetterman election in Pennsylvania.
These are scenes that many people said wouldn't happen this election season. An unabashed progressive winning in a swing state in the heart of America's Rust Belt. A symbol of the so-called red wave stopped in its tracks. We're in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, following the race for the US Senate that's pitted John Fetterman, a grassroots Democrat publicly recovering from a recent stroke,
If you believe that a human being should toil for $7.25 an hour, vote for the other person.
against Mehmet Oz, a TV doctor accused of pushing pseudoscience, who's been endorsed by Donald
and
Trump.
people who took this medication were able to lose 10% of their body weight. That degree of impact is large.
This is the last stop in my journey across the country, and we arrive 3 days before Election Day. The city is abuzz with politics, with 2 former presidents holding rival events on the same day. And the first stop is a downtown rally with Barack Obama, where the mood is one of cautious optimism.
It doesn't surprise me that it's close because Pennsylvania is a very split state, but I think he'll prevail.
I haven't been confident calling any races since the 2016 election.
Well, of course, if people do the right thing and get out and vote, they hopefully will vote for those that are honest and true and want our democracy back to what our founding fathers put it as.
But there are also warnings about the spread of disinformation.
If you read or see something that says they're the cause of all your problems, then it's safe to say it is garbage. It is a lie. It is dangerous poison. We've into that kind of mindset.
Fetterman is the state's lieutenant governor, who began his political career as the mayor of a small post-industrial Pittsburgh suburb. And he's placed workers' rights and trade unionism at the heart of his campaign.
Send me to D.C. And I'll be that 51st vote to raise the minimum wage. How can anybody live on $7.25 an hour? The union way of life is sacred. We have to expand health care. Exactly the same kind of health care that saved my life.
The morning was Obama, and now we're driving a few dozen miles out to the rural red suburbs for a very different rally with Donald Trump and Dr. Oz. Here, it felt like support for Dr. Oz was mostly down to party loyalty and a very different view of economic opportunity. What do you guys think of Dr. Oz?
Way better than the option.
But not your first choice?
No. He was my only choice because Fetterman is a puppet.
Fetterman, and along with lots of other Democrats, stand for a national minimum wage, $15 an hour. Do you support that?
I think that's a little high.
Yeah, it sounds good right now, but $15 an hour to me is still not enough.
You think it should be more than that?
I think it would be, yeah. But it doesn't mean I agree with his perspective on it.
Doesn't that mean you're sort of voting against your own interests?
No.
Nobody working McDonald's, Burger King, other places should be making $15 an hour. And most of those places, once they're paying that, they can't afford to have the employees.
So you're okay with poverty wages, basically?
Yeah.
And same for you?
Same.
Poverty wages?
Same, yeah.
I've been to a lot of Republican rallies during this campaign, but this one felt a little low energy.
John Fetterman believes Joe Biden didn't spend enough money, argued that he should have followed Bernie Sanders more. It would have put us trillions more in debt with higher inflation. He has argued for higher taxes.
Dr. Oz is centering this speech and most of his campaign on pretty classic fiscal conservatism, advocating for spending cuts. Actually, when you speak to people here, it's a pretty lukewarm reception for some of the stuff that he's saying. But what he does have is that all-important endorsement from Donald Trump.
The lack of enthusiasm felt like a direct contrast to the energy surrounding John Fetterman's campaign. And on the morning of the election, I headed out to meet volunteers with the Janitorial and Cleaners Union, door knocking with just hours to go before polls closed.
Hey guys, will we fight? We win! Will we fight?
We win!
Woo!
Okay. Oh, so there's not much to even get.
I think the back of this car is the signal of a busy election season, right?
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
I like this teamwork.
Yeah. So I'm with the union. We're the pro-Democrat Party. Are you voting the whole Democrat ticket with us? Great. It's beautiful.
How are you feeling about John Fetterman?
I love John Fetterman.
I think he's going to win.
Realistically, I can't say that I have 100% confidence, but I feel like the people will come through for John Fetterman. For those people that would vote for Oz, I think you have to ask yourself, why in the world would he have come to Pennsylvania in the first place? What's his goal? It's not like all of a sudden he woke up and thought, well, I'll save Pennsylvania today.
Any kind of thinking, right?
There's something motivating him, and it's not helping the people of Pennsylvania. Exactly.
For both women, Fetterman's campaign connected to personal issues around basic rights and the cost of living.
And how has inflation affected you guys?
I mean, I've been pretty fortunate because I've worked during the whole entire pandemic, including in the gig economy. Uber, Grubhub, Instacart. I was doing Instacart, but
On top of your regular day job?
Oh, yeah, because my hours are from...
And what's your regular day job? Sorry, should ask.
Oh, I'm a cleaner, and a damn good one, too.
For a lot of people, that would be an indicator that the economy isn't working so well for you. You know, you should be entitled to work one job and have downtime and be paid properly in that circumstance. I just wonder whether you think that's right.
Well, my reasons are selfish. I think my primary job would take care of my expenses, my living, like food, shelter, clothing, but I chose to do what I do, so...
It doesn't sound very selfish to me.
Okay, it doesn't? Okay, yeah. They know what the numbers are about. They know that if they pay people $15 or more, that people will be able to sustain themselves. They know this. They have all the information.
What is it like? What's it called? Like they want the feudal system. They want peasants, and pretty much like, look at me. I'm in my high castle, and you're a peasant.
On my way to election night parties, I stopped by the city of Braddock, where Fetterman served as mayor, to catch the last voters of the day.
My man is Fetterman. You done?
He won his shirt.
How long have you been supporting John Fetterman for?
Ever since he been here.
Are you from Braddock?
Yes, been running this pole right here for 27 years.
27 years?
27 years. I'm 84 years old.
You must have seen a lot of change in 27 years.
Oh my gosh, yes. It has been rough, and he's trying to rebuild.
John
Yeah.
Fetterman.
Yeah, he's trying to do his best. But you know, if you see that how people want to put him down, but still, he can only do so much.
There's been a lot of threats to poll workers since Trump lost 2020. Have you been threatened, and what do you think about other people that have had those threats?
If they get rid of democracy, what are we as people in America going to do? What are we going to do? There's no democracy, you know, because he thinks he's a king. He wants to be a dictator.
Tonight or tomorrow or maybe weeks from now, the balance of power in Congress will be decided. And that's something both Democrats and Republicans are already planning for, come what may.
As polls closed, I made my way to a local Republican watch party. The mood here was initially optimistic.
How are you feeling about tonight?
Very positive. I think it's going to be a red wave. Just been watching the percentages, and everything looks like it's going to be a really strong Republican night.
Yes, I think nationally we're going to see a strong victory. We're going to see wins in places like Oregon and maybe even Washington.
Statewide in Oregon?
Statewide in Oregon. I think we're going to see that.
Downtown, at Fetterman's watch party, people seemed willing to acknowledge how close the election was likely to be.
It's a close race. It's a very close race, neck and neck, but we'll see what happens. I'm still positive that more of the Democrats are going to win.
We are working people that are going to stay optimistic. We are fighters, we are mothers, and we know what to do.
But gradually, on the other side of town, reality began to sink in.
I'm a little disappointed in what the returns are because I really thought it would be a red wave, and it's not showing it up yet.
Obviously, the results of tonight weren't what we were hoping for. As we start to look tomorrow and start to figure out where we go from here, Republicans absolutely need to change their attitudes in regards to mail-in ballots. Closing. I want you to go home. I want you to drive safely. Thank you very much. Have a good night.
All right.
And finally, the race was called.
This was a Senate race that was projected to go either way, really up until Election Day. While John Fetterman has won and the Democrats stand a very good chance of maintaining control of the Senate, what I think these midterms have shown us is that at least in part, there has been a nationwide rebuke to Trump-backed extremism around the country.
I'm not really sure what to say right now. My goodness. I'm proud of what we ran on.
protecting a woman's right to choose, raising our minimum wage, fighting the union way of life. Healthcare is a fundamental human right. It saved my life, and it should all be there for you if you ever should need it.
While the final balance of power in Washington is still being decided, the result in this vital Senate race is a reminder that authenticity and community action can still unlock real political power.
Wow. And now that race showed that working people went out and made a difference.
They didn't go and make a difference.
They went out and they didn't, I think, Ralph Nader often pushes this, that, rather than spending all these money on political consultants and TV ads, that when you go out and knock on doors and you talk to people, engage with them and tell them why you're for a certain candidate, that's what brings an election.
It does work. It's a lot of work, but it does work.
Yeah. And the unions got out for Fetterman. And then the one that brought 50, the total that brought 50 was the race in Nevada. And we have a short clip of part of her acceptance speech in Nevada when she was declared the winner. And we'll see how unions made that difference, just in her speech. It's just a short part of it. So Dave, if you could just show that about the Nevada race.
Hello. Well, first of all, thank you, Nevada. Thank you. I am so grateful to every volunteer who knocked on doors, who made phone calls, who wrote postcards and letters, and who had the courage to publicly stand up and fight for our state. Yep. And listen, to all Nevadans, whether you voted for me or not, I will always fight for you. Always. Now, as Frank said, we've known this was going to be a tough campaign, but like all of you, I'm a Nevadan, and I know what it takes to deliver for my home state. So when the national pundits said I couldn't win, I knew Nevada would prove them wrong. Because in Nevada, no one gets left behind. No one. And that means standing up for our families when no one else will. As a former Attorney General, I never, ever wavered in my support for our law enforcement and first responders, including our firefighters. They have the toughest jobs in the state, and they keep our families safe. So thank you for your support in this race, and I will always have your back. And I am also standing with the people who make this state run, our workers, our essential labor. Every day, I am proud to call the men and women in organized labor family. You have been a part of my life since I was a child, growing up the daughter of a Teamster. And here's what I know. Yes, you built this country. You are the essential workers on the front lines every single day. You've protected our workers and their families here in Nevada, and I will always fight for you no matter what, because it is about our families. Thank you. As you all know, I don't forget where I come from. I have a grandfather who came from Chihuahua, Mexico, to this country for a better life. Grandmother from Las Cruces, New Mexico. And they worked hard. They worked hard, and my parents worked hard in this community growing up here to support our family. It is the story of so many Latino families across our state. It's the story of so many Latino families across the country right? Right. I know my family, not only those that are here today, but those that have passed, would be so proud to see me serving as the first Latina in the U.S. Senate.
So we had to cut that a little short.
Right,
but
we
it
don't
just,
it went much longer, I know.
yeah, but it just shows that the part of organized labor, what a role it played in her election.
Yep.
And her election was got the Democrats
over the hump at
to
least
50 in the Senate.
Yep, and it also shows the difference working people can make. And
Yeah.
whether you're unionized or not, just volunteering and getting involved in a campaign can help. I know I did it a couple times, and and I valued both those times that I went and did it. This area I wasn't too worried about it, so I kind of took
Right.
off this election season, but
We showed earlier in the year, I think we showed some videos about the Unite, I can't remember the term, but they were about the workers out in Nevada that were doing this work.
Yes.
And now they're headed to Georgia. Because
Yes.
they're gonna try to bring Raphael Warnock over the top, bring him over 50%. He won that election, but not by 50%.
Which is it's going to feel like a jip if Herschel comes back, because
No, I don't think that's going to happen, though. I think he's going to go over 50%, and he'll return to the
right,
Senate.
because Stacey was right. It was just a reason to give the Republicans a second shot.
Yeah.
In case a Democrat got
Right.
close.
Now.
Well, actually, she was right even further. They were thinking in case an African American actually got close. They never envisioned 2 African Americans on the ballot, but.
Yeah, but hopefully, he will win. Now, the House of Representatives, that's up in the air. And if the Democrats don't take control of the House of Representatives, we're going to see chaos. That's what I've been reading.
But the fortuitous thing is, even though they can launch investigations just like the Democrats did in the House, or, because they couldn't get it done, but you're not going to get any bills through the Senate, because bills still have to go to both houses.
Yes.
And I don't see Chuck Schumer, and the Democrats will decide what goes on the floor of the Senate.
Right. Well, it's important that Warnock wins, because that way they'll have 51 senators, and that means all the committees will have a majority Democrats on them. Right now, with a 50-50 split, there's no majority on the committees.
Correct.
But
They're
we're
evenly
winding down.
split.
We only have 30 seconds left. So
So
any
here's
final
hoping.
things that we should bring up?
No, not really, because we're going to save Bitcoin for the next show, I think.
Yeah, that's true.
And stuff.
We'll have.
But you should all be, if you went and voted, you should be proud. You should be a little reassured at the results of this election.
Thank you to the young people and the single women that went out there and voted.
Definitely. Thank you to the Gen Z generation for coming out. Do it again in 2 years.
Everybody, power to the people.
Power.